Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. If you love the color blue, man, do I have a guitar for you. Oh man, so this is the Les Paul Custom Blue Widow. Now, these are officially billed on their certificate of authenticity as a Les Paul Custom F. Blue Widow is not actually in the title of that. But the term widow within Gibson instruments means the binding gets covered over in the same color as the guitar. So it's not actually blue binding here, it's just finish over top of the binding. So as you play this and play it, if you were to wear through the finish, it would turn white. A great way to see that is along the fretboard binding here. You can see that the finish on the side is colored blue, but the binding itself is still white. Now, that's kind of an acquired taste. When I first got my Black Widow, that we'll talk about here in a minute, I thought that was kind of cheesy and a defect, but you kind of learn to like it. But a little bit of history behind the Widow series. These were birthed by a guitar called the Black Widow. It's essentially what would be considered today a Red Widow, but it was a Sam Ash exclusive. There was only 25 of them made. They later did something called the Cobra Burst, which was built along similar specs. But you can check out this video to see one of those up close and in person. But essentially what you need to know for this video is that was more of an R7 body style, like a gold top, but with custom appointments on the fretboard as well as the headstock, and historic features, meaning a long neck tenon, an ABR1 bridge, no back binding on those guys, a quilted top, and for some reason they were chambered. But the coolest feature of those to me is they have a stinger on the back of the headstock as well as an animal on the back. The Cobra Burst gets a cobra, the Black Widow getting a Black Widow spider. So that was 2009. Gibson didn't take the idea on their own and do a limited run again until 2012. I'm not going to talk too much of those because I'm going to be featuring one from that run very soon. So let's go ahead and jump to what I consider a Generation 3 Widow. It looks like this. The COA calls them a Les Paul Custom F, meaning Les Paul Custom Flame Top, because hey, it's got a flame top. And it has the widowed appointments, meaning colored over binding as well as on the face of the headstock. So these things, they don't get any type of special stinger or any spiders back here, so they're a little bit less special in my opinion when it comes to that. But these are basically just for people who love a certain color because they make them in pretty much any color you'd want. But the third generation features a richlite fretboard instead of the original ebony on the Black Widow. Now, why does it have richlite? Well, it's because these were birthed at the time when the whole Gibson raid thing happened. They didn't really have ebony to spare at that point in time because the government had all of it. So these are one of the earlier series of instruments to receive richlite. So will it affect their collectible value in the future? Maybe. I mean, as a collector, the way I see it, obviously the Black Widow's #1, and Generation 2 2012, those guys got rosewood fretboards, which are kind of a bit goofy, but I view those as slightly more collectible than these. But these are like for the players out there that want something that stands out and the colors match. Because let's face it, does a reddish looking rosewood fretboard really match with the dark blue body and the black burst? No, you want something that's a darker color. So that's why most players that are really finicky with how they want their instrument to look will go for a Generation 3. The only other thing I can really tell you about these guys, besides looking pretty cool, is they also adopted this feature on Flying V's and a few other body styles. And the Gibson Made to Measure program, they'll make you any color you want pretty much on any body style. So if you want the first Widow-styled Firebird or Explorer custom, I'm sure they would gladly make it for you, but they're going to charge like $6,000. So to learn a little bit more about this guy, let's go ahead and throw him on the workbench. Inside the Blue Widow here, we've got the Gibson 490R neck pickup with a date of 12/3 and the 498T in the bridge 12/9. Now this is what I was talking about in my Widow and Cobra Burst things. These are not built to historic specs. They have a short neck tenon instead of a long neck tenon, and also they have the Nashville style bridge instead of the ABR1. Something else interesting to see here in the bridge pickup cavity, look! They've taken the grounding post from right there. I've never seen that before on a Gibson. That's weird. Usually they run it this way. I'll be curious to see if my other Widow's done like that. But here you can see the two-piece flamed maple top. I mean, this one's actually a pretty nice top on it too. And you've got the black speed knobs with white numbers. I personally think this would have looked a lot better had they had custom ordered these with blue numbers, because that would kind of match the theme of the guitar. They would have done the same thing with the truss rod cover, have blue lettering and a blue binding to it. But here's the back side of the bridge, and it is a full weight tailpiece. Being a 2013 model, this is a richlite fretboard. Ebony will usually have some sort of wood grain, whereas you can see this one's pretty much flat all over. Now, there's nothing wrong with richlite, it's just people seem to have an issue with it due to it not being traditional. But you still have the mother of pearl block inlays. Face of the headstock, there's your truss rod, and you get the blue covered Gibson logo and custom emblem. I get a 1.67 inch nut width, which increases to 2.04 at the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.86. Then the 12th is rather chunky, 1.02. And the standard 24 3/4 inch scale length. And within the circuit, we get 7.69 k ohm reading on the neck, and twice that, 13.45 in the bridge. And the middle, just for fun, 5. Moving on to the backside now. You can see these guys are also not chambered, unlike the other ones we were looking at. But due to that style of hole, I believe these will still have 9-hole weight relief, because that's just how they normally make customs, unless there's some sort of a reissue. So 4 Gibson branded pots, and they do it without any type of shield base plate. So it's kind of cool, you get to see the flame maple cap from this side as well. And if you notice, there is a small route right there for the traditional grounding wire, so I'm not sure what that's all about. Here's the inside of the toggle switch cavity as well. These are right before they switched to those like little medallions in 2014. So this is kind of like one of them gel stickers that says Gibson Custom that's put on it. You can't really tell it in this lighting, but you can see through this finish to the mahogany wood grain. All you see is my ceiling reflecting off of it. And same thing on the neck, you can also see the wood grain. It's just a really nice dark blue color here. It says Gibson Custom right there, and you have your ink stamp serial number, as well as your Golden Grover tuners. This example weighs 9 pounds, 7.4 ounces, but it's definitely heavy in the body. Now that we know all about this instrument, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Now that we know how this instrument sounds, let's go ahead and briefly look at its condition. I hate to tell you guys this, but it's actually already sold. Someone saw my unboxing video of this one, and they were trying to buy it from the seller after he had marked it as sold. I'm still not quite sure what was going on with that guy, but just to clarify, the reason why I got this blue one instead of the green one, his excuse wasn't his house burnt down that he no longer had it. It was his house burnt down, that's why he was selling these guitars. So I really don't know what happened to that green one. This was sold to me as mint condition. Is it? No, not what I would consider mint. I mean, you've got some light usage marks, but let me tell you, this thing is a dust magnet. I can't keep this thing clean no matter what. Frets, they show very minor wear, hardly any at all. Now, being a richlite fretboard, you don't want to use lemon oil on it. I mean, I've used it before. Did it hurt it in the short term? No, but they recommend just using water to wipe these guys down. But you've got some light picking scratches on this guy. Ooh, that's a nice view. And just dust all over. But the one defect that I saw up here is there's like an impression mark, which is kind of weird. It almost looks like there's a piece of hair stuck in the finish, which does happen. Sometimes I'll see Sweetwater B stock listings of things that have hair in the finish. I think those things are kind of funny. But the gold hardware on this one, it really pops against this dark blue. I can see why this guy really wanted this guitar. On top of that, the flame top on this one's really nice, but you really got to get it at an angle where you can see through the finish. Sometimes it appears darker than others, but nice clean condition on the front besides that impression line right there. Back of the headstock, you got, I don't want to call those dings right there, but it looks like it's scuffed up against something for a little bit. The neck doesn't necessarily feel super big as the measurements might have made it seem, but it is a very rounded neck profile. I think my favorite feature of this one is that you can see through to the back wood grain. Sometimes it depends what color you have if you can or cannot. That might also be a difference between generation 2 and 3, but I haven't really seen enough of them up close. But I love that feature. It's a little hard to see, but you do have thin binding in the cutaway, so you can kind of see a blue stained maple top there. It's a nice little feature. And I bet if you get a bright enough light, you might be able to see the wood grain on this side too. So now, what does a Widow look like after 6 years under blacklight? Nothing too crazy here because I think this one mainly just sat on like a stand and was a display piece because that guy owned pretty much almost every single color of Widows. He said he had bought them on eBay just kind of as a collection thing. Then his house burnt down. He lost both of his businesses. I mean, this guy lives in California, so it's not like random house burning down. It's more so a, wildfires thing, as far as I understand it anyways. Looks like this one blacklight's the way I would expect to see. No foul play or anything here. The current generation of Widows, they come in these lift-in reissue cases. That's why I was confused when I pulled this one out because I thought I'd bought both generation 2s. So this one, it's got some light scuffs, but not too much really to go over here. And the inside is kind of a pink color. I don't know if this case matches this guitar or not, but this is the less historically accurate, more protective version of the lift-in. Good heel support, double neck rest. That wouldn't be there on a historically correct one. And your COA just sleeps inside here with a little bit of extra case candy. So reflecting on the whole getting the wrong guitar sent to me thing, I guess I got what I actually needed in the end because now I'll have reviewed the first generation. This is a third one, and we'll have a second generation probably within the next upcoming week. So that works for me documenting, and I happened to help this guy out because he was looking for this guitar. So, if you are interested in being the next owner of this guitar, I'm sorry, it's already sold. We already talked about that. But the Purple Widow will be coming up for sale soon if you dig the color purple. Alright, thank you Troglodytes for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.